Hi, I'm Xander and welcome to my channel. My channel is generally about my creative process, the inspiration behind a piece, what it sounds like, and information about that particular piece. Excuse me. Today's piece is a ritual piece, so I guess today's will be a little bit different because I want to talk about the reasons why this particular part is important. So it's not just going to be about my creative process. It's also going to be about how it fits in with ritual as a primary focus, not a secondary focus. So before I start, I would like to pay my respects to the Wadawurrung people on whose lands I'm broadcasting today, to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to any other elders who might be watching this. This is, was, and always will be Aboriginal land. Sovereignty was never ceded. This is stolen land, and it's important that we acknowledge that. And it's also relevant to today because today's session is about acknowledgement of country. The acknowledgement of country in Australia is a very ancient etiquette. It was and continues to be practiced by the Indigenous inhabitants of Australia. Anytime they move on to a different country, there is an etiquette associated with that. And that etiquette has hierarchy. Only somebody of that country can do a welcome to country in Australia, whereas somebody who is on country can do an acknowledgement of country. And the way it works in Australia and acknowledging that Indigenous peoples around the globe most likely have similar practices and etiquettes, but I can only really speak from Australia because that's the one that I have experience with as how would I refer to myself as somebody who came from the colonizing peoples and has been born and raised on colonized land, and therefore the etiquettes that's appropriate from me from that particular background. I guess that's the best way of putting it. Let's see. So acknowledgement of country is something that if you happen to be on country, that is an etiquette to say, to state, to specify, because it acknowledges that you are aware of the peoples whose lands that you're on, because you name those peoples, you name the lands, and you also, in the acknowledgement of country, acknowledge that there was this process called colonization that occurred, and that meant that the Indigenous peoples went through a dispossession of land, and a forceful dispossession in most cases, in some way, shape, or form. And so an acknowledgement of country is a political statement just as much as it is an etiquette, a statement of etiquette. The piece that I wrote is a way of doing an acknowledgement of country. It was written during Witch Camp, during Earth Song Witch Camp, which was held on Wadawurrung country, which is a neighboring country to the one that I live and broadcast on. And it was written in 2019, just prior to COVID. And it was heavily based on what I understood of the important elements of acknowledgement of country from what I had picked up through my workplace, from what I had picked up from engaging with Indigenous peoples, and from what I had picked up from working and doing ritual in communities that I'm part of. Acknowledgement of country is something that is really important in the Wildwood tradition. It is very important to do an acknowledgement of country before you do anything else. It has also become an important part of reclaiming tradition practice. Majority of reclaiming rituals that I'm part of now will also include an acknowledgement of country of some description, an acknowledgement of the lands that people happen to be on. Because I tend to like songs, songs help me to remember what I need to say. Songs help me to do something that is more in line with the way that a ritual is going to go, because quite often in Wildwood, as in reclaiming, it's not uncommon for people to sing or perform in some way, shape, or form, or excuse me, when they're setting up ritual space, or when they are moving into ritual, when they are acknowledging things such as country, such as elements, such as the container, the entities and energies that the ritual is going to be working with. Quite often that happens through song, through poetry, through chant, so various things like this. So the 2019 Earth Song Witch Camp, which happened in Jajawarong country in Victoria, Australia, was an earth camp. It was basically a camp that was embedded within the landscape that the camp was within. So the whole mythos of the camp was about that landscape. And so it was during that camp that I really felt a need to have something that I could sing that was an acknowledgement of country. So before I went to sleep, I put that out there. I would like this song and I would like it to acknowledge country. And when I woke up before breakfast, there was a song in my head. And so I recorded it pretty much straight away. And the song is fairly simple. And it goes like this. I pay my respects to the Jajawarong and to their lands that I'm standing upon. Pay respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to any other elder here it may be concerning. This is and always will be Aboriginal land. Sovereignty was never ceded. This is stolen land. So as we stand here together to practice our art, we acknowledge this country has a Jajawarong heart. I mean, you might want to do like a heart shape with your hands or something over your heart when you sing that part, or you can sort of elaborate on it. Normally it would be is, was, and always will be Aboriginal land, but as I was singing, that particular word didn't pop into my head, so I missed it. But just to acknowledge that particular part. Now, because I live in Wadawurrung land, Wadawurrung and Jajawarong rhyme quite well. And so I use that for my personal practice here. I don't always sing it. Sometimes I just say it, it's just like the chant helps me to remember the words. So I don't have to sing it. Sometimes it's quite, it's better to just say it for me. So every morning I will do an acknowledgement of country, and it'll just be while I'm because I tend to walk in a circle when I do my morning practice and just go around and round and round. It just felt natural to do that. So I generally will do that. And while I do that, I will start by going through, I pay my respects to the Wadawurrung and to their lands that I'm standing upon, pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and to any other elder here. It may be concerning, this is, was, and always will be Aboriginal land. Sovereignty was never ceded. This is stolen land. So as I stand here together to practice my art, I acknowledge this country has a Wadawurrung heart. For me, standing together acknowledges the triple souls or the triple cauldron, depending on whether we're talking from a wildwood perspective or a reclaiming perspective, and what aspects of the triple that we're talking about, because they both mean pull things into alignment. We do it in slightly different ways, but they both pull the various parts of ourselves into alignment. So as I stand here together, if I had been more broad-minded when I wrote the song, I wouldn't have put Jaja Wurrung on a rhyme, because it's a lot harder for people who aren't on country that is going to have some kind of ending that rhymes with a pun. Then it doesn't fit very well. So it can be hard to do it if you're not on a land that rhymes with a pun. And if I had my time again, I would have had that on a different thing so that the rhyme wasn't the name of the country. But it was written for a specific camp and for the country that that camp was on, and that country was on was one that does rhyme with upon. So to put a different kind of country in there, you might need to rearrange the words, is essentially what I'm pointing out there. So in my personal practice, I like to acknowledge country. I'm a wildwood witch, so generally it's our practice to acknowledge country before we do anything ritually. And I do ritual every morning before breakfast. And so every morning before breakfast, I will acknowledge country. And just like anything, when you're doing it ritually with an acknowledgement of country, it's energetically aligning, connecting to a certain degree with the energetics around you. It's putting out there that, you know, I want to work with you. I acknowledge this is your country and I want to work with you in this particular working. So that there is, I guess you would say, a right relationship between where you happen to be working and doing ritual, as well as the what you happen to be doing. So it's after I do acknowledge country that I will do a grounding and alignment. And I won't include that here. I'll do that a different day, different time. But basically, an acknowledgement of country comes before anything else. You'll find the words to the version that I use in the link to my blog in the description. You don't have to follow that. If you do any kind of an acknowledgement of country, it should be aligned with the country that you happen to be on and the peoples of that country, of that land. And so you may like to make a rhyme for yourselves that fits with your location and your sets of circumstances, acknowledging that colonialism happened in different ways in different places, and that there's likely to be different etiquettes depending on where people are. So I think that's about all I can say for now. So hopefully this was of some interest or some value to you, and thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.